Bizarre Brain Comics. The Dark Librarian. Hello, my comic book fiends. This is the Dark Librarian, here for Bizarre Brain Comics, and I'm here to tell tales of terror. Oh, yes. Woo! Yes, and my friends are here to help me. Here's over here. It's Mini Bones, Mini Bones. And here is Yorick Jr. They don't get much airtime. No. And this time, our terror tome for today is Midnight Tales number 3. This is from 1973 from Charlton Comics. All 3 stories are written by Nicola Cuti, with art by Wayne Howard, Tom Sutton, and Joe Staton, primarily Wayne Howard. And Midnight Tales, of course, is a horror anthology created by Wayne Howard for Charlton Comics. It ran for 18 issues from 72 to 76. And it was hosted, yes, they all had horror hosts. That's one thing that I miss. You need horror hosts when you do a horror anthology. And it's hosted by Professor Coffin, who is also known as the Midnight Philosopher, and his niece, Arachne. And they live and work at Xanadu University, which ties it in to the Charlton Comics E-Man at that time, the superhero title. And because Xanadu University and Professor Coffin, I think, made an appearance or two in E-Man. Okay, each issue. Well, first of all, the cover. Of course, all the covers were done by Wayne Howard. It even has a created by credit when he signs the cover. He did all the covers, but one interesting thing is that the covers were all basically a gag cartoon, having nothing to do with the interior stories. In this case, it's not that much of a gag, but where he's playing chess with the king, and he's surrounded by the bishop and the queen and the knights and the pawns and stuff. Real people says, Arachne, these guys are good. Well, I should think so. Said the Midnight Philosopher and Arachne present their special 3rd issue. Now, one interesting thing is that each issue followed a theme, and the theme would be somehow established in the framing sequence, because it always started with a framing sequence which featured Arachne and the Midnight Philosopher, and then they would have interstitial moments in between the stories, and but each story would follow the theme that was established in the framing sequence. So let's take a look. It's some nice stuff. Now, Wayne Howard, I love Wayne Howard's work, and of course it is very, 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 very strongly influenced by Wallace Wood from EC, Marvel, Tower, and independent publishing fame. And because from what I understand, he had been an assistant to his for a while, and so his stuff looks an awful lot like Wally Wood's work, most especially in the like the page layouts and the light and shading work. And here it is, starting off with the Midnight Philosopher. He and his Anarachne are at a carnival, and going up for one of the games, and which is the sharpshooting thing, and and he won all kinds of toys for Arachne, and said, "How do you do it?" He says, "Quite simple, child. I allowed for the fact that the sights were rigged. I once worked at a carnival in my wayward youth." So he knew all about it, and he knew how to compensate for it, because if you've ever used one of those guns at one of those things at a carnival, the sights are always off, so you can never, you have to learn how to compensate to shoot accurately. And then they say fortune teller, and they're going to go to the fortune teller, and one of the carnies here says, you shouldn't go there. Said, "I've seen folks come running out of there, raging in anger. Others have had tears in their eyes." Well, they're not put aside. They go in, and their fortune teller, she gazes into her crystal ball and does her stuff. Then we go, and she talks about, "Oh, you want to see the future, do you? Well, let's take a look at the future. What, a possible future revealed in the crystal ball." And our first story is Game Preserve. This is one that was drawn by Joe Staton. Now, this is the time period I really, really like Joe Staton's stylization. And it's this young blonde lady. Her car has broken down on the side of the road out in the middle of nowhere. And she says, "I hate to walk these roads at night. Poachers have been seen in this area." So I was wondering, why is such a deal with poachers? And then here, motorcycles, boom, boom, boom. And they seem to harass her, but they go, "No need to be afraid. We ain't poachers. We're just animals." And they are animals. You got looks like an alligator and a lion and a leopard, and they're the motorcycle gang. What the heck? There's a car coming. Let's get out. They're harassing her. Let's get out of here. It could be cops. Well, another car pulls up, and it's another man. He gives her a ride and says, and they have to stop for gas or whatever, and need to eat. So they stop at a roadside diner and go inside, and well, it's inhabited by animals. There's a frog. The waitress is a deer, and there's a bear, and there's a mole, Mr. Mole, and what's the deal? And they're talking, and this is how we find out that this is sometime unspecified time in the future when humans had done some genetic engineering with some animals, and then the animals took over, and humans are endangered, and the poachers are people who hunt the humans. So they continue on. They're trying to find There's supposed to be a game preserve, but then they're stopped by poachers, and they're on the run, run. It's almost like they're being herded someplace. Then they find a wall with a gate. They get through it, and it says, it's what I've been searching for, the game preserve. That is correct, humans. Here's a snaky guy. You have found your paradise, your refuge from the hunt. Yeah, I said, "You must be the gamekeeper." I said, "You could say that. Will you join me in some wine?" They get relaxed, get fed, have some wine, and then they go, oh, the wine, it's drugged, I can't move. So then we see a little time later, and he says, "We created that story to lure you here. We needed you, because now it's not a game preserve, it's a museum. It opens the newest display. Fellow animals, I present the first humans, Adam and Eve." They were stuffed to And Arachne's not thrilled with that story. Animals ruling mankind, she's not thrilled with that. And she knocks the crystal ball off there and says, I don't like this place. Let's go. And then smashes that. Well, she opens the door, and there's all these other crystal balls. So she puts another crystal ball up there and said, okay. Then this is called, and it starts showing this other story, Malfunction. And it's sometime in the future when robots are common workers for people, and the lady comes in to see her. Beacon, what are you doing? And he said, oh, you're painting. He said, this is robot. He has his own little space. He does his job, and then when he's not needed, he does his own thing. He has this little space, and he does some painting, and she likes his painting, but don't like it. How come this painting, a portrait of you is an empty spot in the middle? It says, it's because I have no heart. I lack a heart. And a heart, what do you know about heart? And he's talking about, because he has no emotions, but he knows humans do, and he wishes he does, so he has no heart. Then her boyfriend comes over, and they get canoodling, and Beacon is just kind of watching him a little bit. And then he turns and he goes back to do his own thing while they're snuggling around. And he goes and he reads, and he's reading up on love, romance, and emotions. Then when he comes back out, because he hears a ruckus, and they're arguing. She had apparently seen him with another woman someplace, and they're having an argument. And she goes to strike him, and he stops her and holds her, and she, in anger, says, I wish you were dead. And Beacon obliges. Again, this beautiful work. This looks like kind of like Adam Link from some of the renditions of Adam Link, and a very, very Wallywood-esque. And she's, oh my gosh, what did you do? No, you monster, you fiend! And she alerts the police, and he jumps out the window, and he's on the run. And they have the magnetic leeches, which attach themselves to robots. Who are like malfunctioning or gone rogue or whatever, and he smashes his own arm to get them off. And then he runs, and he goes back to his previous owner, and he says, and while the previous owner is there, Bill Calder, who was his previous owner, seeing a thing about the robot on the run on the news, and he says, Beacon, you've come back. Yes, I need your help. And he says, I'm sorry, Beacon. The reason I got rid of you is because I could tell that you were developing emotions, and emotions in a robot are a malfunction. Said there is no cure. The only thing you can do is to return to mother. And he goes, I understand. He walks back to U.S. Steel, steel plant, and he goes up and then takes a header right into a vat of molten steel, shades of Terminator 2, perhaps, a couple of decades before. Then we're back at interstitial with the Midnight Philosopher and the Fortune Teller, and she still doesn't like this fortune being told. So, and it goes on, and we see another story. This is drawn by Tom Sutton, and his style is oddly different from what I'm used to seeing from him, but he has some very lovely design work in his panels for the backgrounds and stuff. This is sometime in the future. The father is telling the son about transportation in the past, and sometime in the future when they don't drive, don't fly, don't take any means of transportation, because they have the transport booths in everyone's home, and also have them outside in places. And they just go in, and they're going to a friend's for dinner. They can go anywhere in the world in this transport booth in just an instant, and they're going to dinner someplace else. And the boy Davy, oh, go ahead, Dad. I promised Gina that I'd bring her some storybooks. So they go on ahead through the booth and just dial it up, and they go through, and they come through, and they're, where's Davy? So, oh, he'd be right behind us. Then suddenly the booth goes zap, 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 zap. Something went wrong. They try to call their home to see if Davy's still there. What happened? And so they can't dial up the home to get them back. So they send them to a booth just outside. They're outside, but this time they're so used to using booths, they don't have doors. So they smash the window to get in, and there's no Davy, and their booth is in flames. They contact the authorities, the people who do the transit booths, and they're talking about, trying to keep things kind of quiet. They check things out and said, "Oh, it's right here. This is what happened." He is like he's basically inside the machine, but they can talk to him. It says, just talk into the microphone. He said, Davy, darling, this is Mommy. Are you all right? Yes, Mommy. I feel so wonderful. I can see Mars and Alpha Centauri, and I can even see you. And then, see, because this whole story is very reminiscent of Ray Bradbury, and then he even describes here a scene directly from a Ray Bradbury story. From the Martian Chronicles. And they said, "Oh, I'm not afraid, Daddy. Whenever something moves, it's like a part of me is moving." Said, "He's drifting out of range. Get him to return." "Oh," said, "Davy, you're drifting away. Come back." I said, "It's all right, Daddy. I'm very happy. If anyone asks for me, just say that I got lost in transit." Oh, the end. And that was good. Well, Arachne is not happy with that story either. And she said, "This is all a fraud." She's got some kind of projector under the table. She whisks the cover off the table and the table away, and then go, look at her legs. And they both run out of there. And then we see that the fortune teller goes, "Perhaps my warnings have not fallen on deaf ears. Perhaps this time they will listen." And we see that the fortune teller is a robot. Oh, and I really enjoyed that. I love the Midnight Tales. It's probably one of my favorite Charlton horror comics, and I seldom come across any now. I don't remember getting any from back then, but I really like it now, and would like to get more. They're out there. But I just don't come across them very often. So when I can, I get one. So that's all I've got to share with you this time. Please like, share, and subscribe. Do leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think of this or any issue of Midnight Tales or any of these stories or anything like that. So just leave your comments down below. And remember, comics are art.